And good afternoon and welcome to the Teamsters Mobilize General Membership Meeting. Colleen, would you go ahead and go to the next slide for me? Just some general announcements before we get started. First of all, I'm Jennifer Hancock, a member of Teamsters Mobilize. Hang on, I'm letting one more person in. We are asking folks to get involved with TM if you're not already a member. Could someone put the link for the questionnaire in the chat for me? Oh. And if you're not speaking, we're asking everybody to please mute themselves. And if you haven't put your name and your local in the chat, please go ahead and do so. Colleen, go ahead and hit the next slide for me. We do most of our communications on WhatsApp. If you fill out that questionnaire with the link, we'll be able to join you, add you to our WhatsApp. Go ahead and hit the next slide for me. This slide is just introducing you to the steering committee for Teamsters Mobilize. Next slide. This meeting is dedicated to the memory of Alan Bard, former longtime Teamster official and LGBTQ ally. Tuzok, would you like to give a few words in his memory for us?
Yes, thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate that. I don't want to get too emotional, so I'll keep it short. Alan was an example of what happens when we practice real intersectionality in our movement, the way we should be. It's too often I've heard too many of our leaders, and back in Alan's day too, talk about our movement's only about wages, hours, and working conditions. And Alan was an example of one of those people that put all of it together. All the movements around social justice, the wages, hours, working condition piece, and showed us that it wasn't, this wasn't meant to operate in silos. And all the work that I do is informed by the work that he did, and I intend on carrying on his work. And also, if anybody is interested in uplifting this history and this work, I've started an informal group, the Coors Boycott Commemoration Committee, which is what Alan was known for, primarily coordinating the Coors boycott from 73 to 75 in Northern California. I'd be more than happy to give you more information. But, we lost one of our great labor leaders in Alan Baird, and his work will live on in all of us. And I appreciate you all dedicating this time to his memory. Thank you.
Thank you. Here is our initial announcement of our Ask Steward program that's coming up. I've seen some chatter in the chat about it. This program is geared to real-world examples of contract enforcement. We have a promo video coming out, so keep an eye out for this. Next slide, Colleen. Now, Jose, I'm handing it over to you to get the introduction.
Buenos días, buenas tardes, comrades. I'm Jose Francisco Negrete from Teamster Local 952 out here in Southern California, and also a proud member of Teamster Mobilize. Today, we will listen to and discuss the Amazon strike that started on December 19th and ended on Christmas Eve, December 24th. And our first speaker today is Brandon Hill from KCVG. If Brandon, if you could unmute yourself and if you give us a report and reflections on the CVG2 strike.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you, comrades, and thank you, Jose, for reaching out to me and inviting me to this too. And it's nice to hear your voice, not just on the Valley Labor Report. So, yeah, and thank you, everybody. And well, I would just like to say, yeah, I just wanted to say all that. And so my name is Brandon Hill. I work at Amazon KCBG in the northern Kentucky, Cincinnati area. And I'm currently organizing with Local 89 out of Louisville. And I've been a member of the organizing. I've been involved with the organizing there for 2 years now, since back when it was ALU. And this past year, we voted to affiliate with the Teamsters now. And so basically, what we ended up doing was, well, you know, I'm on the OC, and a lot of folks on the OC really wanted to do like a strike action, but the reality of the situation is, at our facility is we are just not at that point, where we have a majority. So a lot of us didn't feel it was we'd be able to pull off something like that, especially at such a large facility there. And if we weren't able to get like a good turnout, it just wouldn't have, it just wouldn't have looked good out there. So basically, a lot of folks, we really wanted to do more, and tried to push for more, but we were only able to do like, I guess what was called a picket extension. And basically what we did was an action that was in front of another facility. So that wasn't in front of KCBG. That ended up being in front of another facility called Amazon CBG2, and that's a facility that handles all the local returns from all the Amazon node in that area. The UPS drivers were delivered there, but with the picket that we had established, which told the drivers to turn around. The first few drivers like turned around, and then from that point on, they didn't even bother. The word got out, and they didn't even bother to like come over and drop them off. Instead, they dropped them over at some other lot, and then Amazon had the local Tom team had to go and pick those things up. So it significantly slowed things down. So we had to pick it out there with about it never fell below about 6 7 people. At the most we had about a dozen people out there. It was pretty small, but it was very energetic. It was cold where we were at, very cold. But we had community support. I reached out to friends in the local community. Folks brought out pizzas. Folks came out to join us from the local community on the picket line too. Folks stood in solidarity with us out there in the cold late at night. So that was really powerful. I was really proud of the folks who, came out and joined us on the picket line. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get a lot of folks besides like, the folks on the OC and, Teamsters organizers and stuff, and the community members. I'm just hoping that, next time we do something like this, we're able to get just regular workers out there, hopefully. But yeah, so our action went on for about 2 days. We kept it going 24/7, and I went out there a few times as much as I could. I worked one of the days, but I went out there for a few hours, and yeah, like I said, I was really really happy with the turnout from locals coming out to support us, from some of the local organizations and stuff. So that was nice to see. And yeah, so yeah, really excited to hear about everybody else's stuff. But I do have to go. Actually, there's a meeting I have to attend here. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Comrade Hill. Next up, speaking is Luigi from New York, Comrade from Working Voices. So, Luigi, if you could give us a report and reflections on the Amazon strikes you went to.
Hey, how are you? Thank you for the invitation. And yes, my name is Luigi. I'm based in New York City. I used to work at a UPS facility here in Brooklyn. I was a Teamster until last year, but then I had 2 surgeries, so I had to change of jobs. But I'm still connected. I have been doing coverage of Amazon Action for the last 4 years. So I know a lot of organizers, activists, workers at UPS, Amazon. So in this National Day of Action at Amazon, I went first to Maspeth, Queens. That was mainly a driver's strike. But then I spent the other 4 days at the facility in Staten Island, that is JFK 8. And, I think first, the overall action, called by Sean O'Brien, we can say that it doesn't have specifically the goal of organizing workers or making very effective and strong actions. I think that for Sean O'Brien, this has more like a public appearance, appear in the media, having more leverages in negotiations with politicians. He's having all this more outward public speech of being trying to work with the Republican Party, with Trump, with MAGA people. So, and in all this discussion of immigration is getting closer to all the nationalist speech that we are listening from the government. So, I think the national action has a lot of elements that are more connected to its own Sean O'Brien goals and the leadership of the Teamsters in general. Then I think there is a second aspect that is more about what local organizing can do with the opportunities that are open through this more rhetoric that he's having or appearance in the media, how rank and file members can use this space that is open. And I feel like in Staten Island is a monster. We are talking about 6,000 workers with high turnover, a history of firing activists, all the disillusion and contradiction that brought all the previous administration, Chris Small. So, workers there are starting from a very complicated situation. And for what I talk with people there, because I was going even before the strike happens, there was already awareness that they're not going to have a strike that will shut down the whole facility. Like they were not organizing 4,000 workers to be able to make such an impact, and organizing that will require so much more time and creating rank and file spaces where people can discuss. And they decided democratically, because Sean O'Brien, this decision comes very top down. Then workers discuss about it, but the idea is mainly from above. But even though all these contradictions and problems, for what I was able to talk, there was almost 600 or 700 people who sign up the strike pledge, which is a very important number to work with. The day of the walkout, I think around 50 people walk out from the building. That it was one of the coldest days in the winter, snowing a lot, and there was a lot of police presence in front of the door. Like you have to go through a police line before walking out your job. And people is scared. Christmas is a good moment to attack the company, but also it's a moment where workers want money to satisfy their needs, take care of their families. And also, for what I understand, through the 4 days there were over 200 workers that engaged during the picket lines. I think on the peak of the moment, there were 50 at the same time. They were doing, 3 or 4 different shifts. And for what I could talk to, everyone was aware that this is not making a major impact in the distribution or in Amazon business. But yes, for activists, was very important to see how, all these new layer of workers are standing up, walking out, taking this conclusion of this is not enough to get a new contract. We need to keep organizing. We need to keep bringing more workers. There was a lot of people that I haven't seen. I remember going to rallies on the days of Chris Smalls where I couldn't find workers. There were like 5 or 10. And this one, there was all the time dozens there, engaging, talking to press, giving speeches, having conversations. And it was so cold that they put a bus so that people can stay warm. And most of this time, a lot of conversation happened there. Everyone was saying, this happened in my sector, this happened in my sector. And I feel like we have to see the two different levels, how Sean O'Brien has his own politics and goals, but how the rank and file workers can use this opportunity to, build from the bottom up. And especially in places that are so big, that is very hard to organize. So I would say yes, the goal, of course, of shutting down the place, that was not something that was in the horizon. Probably they would have expected to have a few more hundreds maybe engaging, but I still think that the numbers are a good sign to deepen and organizing. And really, for all the conversation that I had, people was knowing this limit, and workers that have been there for 5-6 years saying this is the first time that we're out, that we feel that we're having some kind of participation, and what we need now is to come back, show everyone that we are back, we were not fired, we are still organizing, the public opinion is in our favor, and we should take all this energy that is going around the country to organize, from below with a different objective. But I don't know, hopefully that makes sense and helps to have an idea.
Gracias, Comrade Luigi. And next up, we have Comrade Avery. Yvette Avery. Sorry about that. Avery Yvette Avery. Oh my gosh, I'm in the West Coast, so I'm still waking up. From Teamster Local 728, she's going to report and give her reflections on the Amazon strike that happened in Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you. Apologies, accepted. It's all good. Yeah, they do call me Avery here. Drivers usually go by last name, but so here at our local, we had a couple of strike locations. So one in city called Alpharetta, Georgia, as well as Stone Mountain, Georgia. These are two suburbs of Atlanta. I got a chance to go by the one in Stone Mountain since it was closer to my house, but I went after work one night, kind of a little later in the day. So the only people on the line were current Teamsters, Teamsters out of the movies and Teamsters out that work for the local. So I noticed, I was keeping up with the posts because, of course, only the people who are chosen by the local are pulled out to go and be, visible, even though they know some people are very active. If you're not, aligned with them, you don't go. So I had to work those days, but I chose to, make my way when I could after work one day. So the one in Alpharetta seemed to be the most attended by most of the Teamsters from our local. It was some Amazon workers out there. Not sure how many actually got a chance to come out, but I don't think it was more representative of Teamsters, current Teamsters versus Amazon Teamsters on the line. But they did have a good showing up in the Alpharetta location. So not sure of the real impact. I know I did get to have a couple of conversations with some people on their way to work. Some Amazon workers who were thanking us for being out there. Some workers, another worker who was saying he had a case against Amazon and won through the ELC, which I was glad to hear. So the workers are, wanting to have something done. They're ready to get it done. I know it's a lot of fear involved when it comes to unionizing, especially here in the South, because a lot of people are not very familiar with unions and how they work and how beneficial they can be for workers if we utilize the power that we have. Unfortunately, some are, turned off by the leadership not doing what they should for the membership. But we can always change that once we're educated and know that we have the power to do that. So I welcome, all Amazon Teamsters or all Amazon workers to, come along so we can educate a new group of workers so they can understand what their rights are, and they will hold the numbers at that point. Currently, of course, UPS are the biggest group of Teamsters, but I welcome more Teamsters that can make better decisions and to push us where, the union should be heading and the direction we should be heading. So, like I said, I don't think it did too much when it came to stopping their operations here with our two locations, but, we did make a mark. People did recognize, blow horn, stop the chat, things of that nature, even when I was out there for that little bit of time at night. So I think it did have the impact it should have had, and hopefully we can have some real impact in the days to come. I know it's going to be, we got a bigger fight every day now with this new administration in the White House. So we definitely have to band together and make sure we stay on point and on task and doing what we need to do for labor. And I guess that's all I have for my report.
Thank you, Comrade Avery. Next up, we got Comrade Zoe Moretti. Hopefully, I pronounced it right. From Local 391. They're going to report on the North Carolina RUD1 picket line and Teamster Mobilize. Fully supports cause and their efforts to unionize. They have an election coming up in mid-February. So, Comrade Zoe, take it away.
Yeah, I'm very excited for the workers at RD1 who've taken a huge step getting a union election next month. But I'll start off just speaking a little bit about the picket line extension that Amazon Teamsters did. You can see our picture there on the bottom right. That's like right when the picket line first started that Thursday morning. I actually work at UPS, and I'm at the UPS facility directly across the street from RD1. So when the picket line started, I brought a few of my coworkers with me. So there were 4 of us, like rank and file, that were on that picket line. Just to get into, where I'd be critical of these picket line extensions, and I imagine this is true in a lot of areas. I think that there was like too much emphasis on just getting the officials out, taking that top-down directive, and not really recruiting rank and file workers to these pickets. Even rank and file workers that work at other facilities like at UPS or at US Foods or our other Teamsters, because I think it's super essential that we, as a union, lean into the member-to-member organizing. I think that's what we're seeing other unions embrace and having a lot of success with. If you look at like Starbucks Workers United, a lot of that organizing is member-to-member. It seems to me, that IBT's Amazon division is recruiting Amazon Teamsters to bring them on into organizing, but we really need our locals to do the same thing. Like, to organize Amazon is going to be such a monumental task, and we really got to bring all hands on deck and recruit our folks who, are union members who have a stake in it, to get involved with the organizing and to train them up. For our picket line, or for the 391's picket line extension, they didn't stay out there the whole 48 hours. They worked alongside cause so they picketed only the truck entrance with the goal of trying to turn around UPS trailers and other union carriers. Unfortunately, UPS seemed to catch wind that the strike was going to be at this location, and so they subcontracted the freight going into the building. But we did turn around a package car that delivers to the building. We had about 90 packages on hold until Christmas Eve because of the picket, because the driver refused to cross. The picket line ended like Friday evening, right before a group of Amazon workers and community supporters were set to join. So there was a separate like cause rally, a union rally that we got a lot of attention from workers as they were driving into work around the shift change around 6:30 in the evening. So that was definitely like positive, and I would have liked to see my union leaders, stay out through the rest of for the committed 48 hours, but because they, didn't recruit extra people, they didn't, pull people off the job on lost time. They didn't invite extra people besides retirees. All the officials were exhausted and weren't able to man the picket line. So I think like definitely we want to use this moment like for Amazon workers to build off of. I think that a publicity strike by itself is not going to do all that much. It's really up to Amazon workers to build off of the momentum of the strike. I think that sort of pivoting now to what Cause is doing at RD1, they're an unaffiliated independent union at the Garner, North Carolina facility, and they are moving into a union election next month. They're facing the brunt of a very aggressive anti-union campaign from Amazon. I am fully behind Amazon Cause. I'm happy to see the IBT finally starting to throw some more support toward Cause, and I would, if it's okay, Jose, if Ennis or any of the other Cause folks that are on this call want to chime in at all on what y'all are doing, that would be awesome. But it's okay. I don't want to put you on the spot, Ennis. But I would love for y'all to keep following what's going on with the Amazon workers at RD1. I'm going to drop the link to their union website in the chat because it's really inspiring what they've done, especially without the backing of any major union. Doing this all from the grassroots and really building up from the rank and file is something that we really need that energy in Amazon Teamsters as well, and if we're going to take on Amazon. But Ennis, if you want to hop in, feel free. But if not,
Yeah,
it's okay.
I'll just add one thing, because I thought this strike was really cool, and when I would talk to workers like inside the Amazon facility, I would bring it up, and like some of them had seen it, some of them haven't. Obviously, people are detached from the news, but it was a good conversation starter, and just thank you for you guys all support, and also, especially Zoe. Zoe's like running phone banking for us right now, and I've seen a lot of Teamsters in there, and so just it really helps to have the support of y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. Thank you, Ines. Next up, we got Tizok, Arenas Comrade, Comrade Tizok. I'll just say it like that because I'm having a bad morning. I'm from IBT Local 223. If you could share your report and reflections, Comrade Tizok.
Yeah, for sure. I wasn't going to lead with the criticism, but Comrade Zoe brought up something that I think has been consistently, and this is for Amazon, and this has been for a number of large and mid-scale actions involving the Teamsters, and whatever you want to, wherever you want to put the blame, whether that be the officialdom or what have you, and I say that as an officer myself too. The Teamsters just have not done a great job of building these coalition networks beyond just, I guess, the immediate leaders that are involved. And that is something that I saw that was different in San Francisco. 2785 had a really good beat on some of the community activism that sort of helped elevate that particular action in the city. And I think there's a lot of missed opportunities with that in multiple campaigns that I could name. I'm not going to go down the list because it's fairly lengthy, but I think 2785 and 856 actually did a pretty good job of running the San Francisco line. But we really have to get out of the habit of this whole. I know part of it's campaign strategy, but so much of what I see is just people being notified of actions at the last minute, or not really organizing in a meaningful way, or just trying to bring out the officialdom and the business agents, and that just doesn't work. I mean, that was a large amount of the picket line extensions, from what I was told. Like, it was some officialdom and some BAs. And, sans some folks on this call that I know personally, Comrade Alex, thank you for going to, I think it was the Salem line while I was in San Francisco. But yeah, I can't, and Comrade Luigi, I agree with your assessment in totality. So there's no reason for me to, rewrite the book on that. But yeah, I think we really just have to, and I guess it is going to have to be a rank and file approach. Like, we're going to have to maintain those relationships with coalition groups and get those folks involved more intimately, because from what I've seen, just from the campaigns I've worked on with the Teamsters, a lot of officialdom does not want those groups involved for whatever reason. I'm sure most of us can probably figure what some of those reasons are. But the more that our rank and filers can be exposed to the rest of the movement, I think the better off we are as a union. And getting away, once again, from what I was saying earlier, getting away from the siloing, because that's killing us in a lot of respects. And I'll just end on this note. Yeah, I mean, I think beyond a visibility strike, like, yeah, this thing needs to get more functional in a lot of different ways. And once again, people have already spoke to how to do that, and I agree with that. But I had a good experience at the San Francisco line, but I wish I could say that was the experience for everybody everywhere. So yeah, that's my 2 cents for the moment. Thanks everybody.
Gracias, comrade Tizok. Next up is Comrade Joseph Allen, one of my comrades out here in Southern California. He's from ATU, local 1277. He's going to speak on several Amazon picket lines that he went to KSBD and DAX 5. I think it's DAX 5. If I forgot, Comrade Joseph Wagner is going to correct me. Take it away, Comrade.
Yeah, no, I'm not Joe Allen. I'm Joe Wagner. Very different. So yeah, I'm a member of Amalgamated Transit Workers Local 1277, and I'm also a supporter of the Internationalist Group, which is a labor socialist organization. So I went to Bessemer, Alabama during the RWD SU organizing drive, and I kind of want to counterpose the experiences there to this recent flash organizing / strike around the country. It's very, very interesting and exciting now that the Teamsters have began in earnest to organize Amazon. The potential is extremely exciting. And I would say that that has to do with Minneapolis, 1934. We in the Internationalist Group are students of what the revolutionaries in Minneapolis in 1934 were able to achieve. And it was not despite the fact that they were revolutionary socialists, it was because they were revolutionary socialists. So the reason, so just to back up, my relationship to this local organizing efforts of the IBT are that dedicated my life to social change. In my union, I'm a member of transport. I'm a member of a specific committee to defend immigrants, and some of us in our union have been in a series of mobilizations of transport workers against deportations, because we understand that the cause of organizing undocumented workers into the unions is, especially in Southern California, is intimately connected with the victories of labor. And the Minneapolis Teamsters understood that in organizing Union Defense Guards to defend against the Silver Shirts and to defend native rights. And Hap Holstein and Ray Rainbolt proudly were members of leadership in the Minneapolis Teamsters. And so I want to be able to express kind of the big picture of why labor needs to be involved in these Amazon organizing drives and what we need to recreate in the labor movement to essentially sweep away the labor officialdom. And so there is a crisis of leadership in labor. It's a major crisis of leadership. And so some people are kind of surprised at the evolution of the TDU into an official position. And I think the overall lessons of the TDU counterposed to the Minneapolis leadership is that if you bring in the government to fix the union problems, the government owns you. And that is completely different from the mentality of the Trotskyists, of the revolutionaries in Minneapolis. That they had absolutely no faith, no confidence in the government. And they understood that they needed to they needed to organize, and without faith in the government, you rely on your own class forces and your own solidarity. And so I'm excited about the Amazon organizing drives that the Teamsters is now doing. There needs to be a change in leadership in all unions. My union, obviously, you folks understand there needs to be a major change in your union, and that is there's a political understanding that goes with that, and that is breaking with all capitalist parties, having no faith and reliance on institutions of the government, I think, and ultimately building a workers' party that can coordinate these actions all the way to ultimately defeating the capitalist class more generally. So look forward to the conversation with you folks.
Thank you, Comrade Wagner. So I apologize for that mistake. Next up, we got Comrade Joe Allen, author of The Package King, and he's going to give his insights on this. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Can everyone hear me okay? Just give me a thumbs up there, Jose, if I'm coming through all right. All right, good. All right. If there's a problem, let me know. As people know, I've written critically about the strikes that took place during Christmas time, or the alleged strikes that took place during Christmas time, because I think it's a continuation of the problems that have existed in the Teamsters Union under the O'Brien leadership, except now we're in a much more dangerous political situation, not just simply because Donald Trump and his leadership team in Washington are committed to significant rollbacks in the legal rights of workers, civil rights, and so forth. We're getting a taste of that now, but also politically because, Sean O'Brien is, the best known labor supporter of the Trump administration. And no good can come from that for either the labor movement or for rank and file Teamsters or for organizing at Amazon. Over the last couple of weeks, I think we've seen and will see, with votes coming up, a few things. One is that it's no surprise that I think that Amazon, a company which, is, depending on any given day, is capitalized at $2 trillion. I mean, it's an enormous corporation, not just in the United States with a workforce of million people on the ground, maybe bigger, that's growing all the time, but it's also a huge international corporation. It's quite willing and has shown itself to be very aggressive in rolling back union organizing campaigns, irrespective of who the union is, whether it's the Teamsters, the food, the retail and wholesale workers, or in Canada, the several unions that have tried to organize there. I think the events of the last few weeks have shown that once again the Teamsters are not up for the task of organizing Amazon. After all, in 2021, they did declare that Amazon presented an existential threat to the Teamsters on several different fronts, UPS, grocery, warehousing, and so forth. And that was probably 10 years too late at that point. So we're way down the road on, Amazon being a rising company. It is here and has reshaped the economy. And during that entire time, the Teamsters have not presented, anything of a real threat to its power or the ability to organize. Unfortunately, I think the Christmas time protest strikes, whatever you'd like to call them, and the union calls them strikes, but they can't be called strikes by any definition of what a strike is, are unfortunately a continuation of things that we've seen in the past, pursued by SEIU or the food and commercial workers through things like the Era Walmart campaign, with a heavy emphasis on the media, some filing all sorts of NLRB problems and so forth, complaints, filing grievances in some cases. But at the end of the day, they don't organize anything. So we have to, I think we reject that model for organizing. The Teamsters, if they really want to, even begin the serious efforts of organizing Amazon, need really a completely different change in posture of what we're doing. Now, it's been, in some ways, it's been representative of the fact that the Teamsters have done very little up until recently around Amazon. That, of course, we saw independent unions trying to very much fill that void to limited success. We know the ALU voted to affiliate with the Teamsters, and I had no position on whether they should do that or not. But to think that by joining the Teamsters that they were going to have a solution to their problems of organizing, I think that's shown not to be true. I hope it changes, but right now I don't think it's shown itself to be true. I think the events up in Quebec show us that even when they've had to make concessions to a local provincial union, within a year they struck back and closed their facilities. Now, I don't know if they can do something quite like that in the United States, but they did do that in Canada, and it has set back organizing. We know on Monday that one of the stores of the Whole Food stores affiliated with Amazon is voting on union representation uh, 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 with the food and commercial workers. We'll see how the vote turns out. As we know, with many NLRB elections, it can take a long time to count even many of the small amount of votes that take place in these union elections. So maybe we'll know Monday night, but I wouldn't be surprised if that stuff is challenged and takes weeks to find an answer to that question. The other is, of course, the vote that in coming up in North Carolina by Cause. I wish them the best of luck, but they're going up to a very powerful enemy. I'm not sure, and this was brought up several years ago, if the NLRB route is the right route to organize Amazon. I just don't know it is. I don't know when the Teamsters talk about a 5-year plan to organize Amazon. I've never heard of anything like that in the past that led to organizing a major corporation. So I think, where are we at with all of this? Well, I think we know that there is a minority of workers at Amazon that want a union. Now, that minority can be fairly small, or it can be somewhat visible and substantial, depending on the workplace that we're talking about. It's also true that the major unions themselves have not committed themselves to the level of organizing necessary to take on a company like this. And let's be honest, the Teamsters, when was the last time that they ever organized a company of this size? Well, the answer is never. So when we talk about, where do we go from here? One, we need to have a very clear-eyed, and maybe even sounds a little uncharitable, view of exactly where we are at. And the second is to sort of think with practical terms of where do we need to be organizing. So I don't have a great solution to those questions. I think if anybody does, I think that they're probably, trying to sell people a bill of goods on this. The one thing I do know is when I listened to Randy Corrigan, when he was the head of the Amazon Teamster division, talking about what he learned about the Christmas time strikes, is he emphasized very enthusiastically, by the way, I mean, people should watch the video, that what was important for him was the media dominance or clips of the picket lines and the likes on TikTok videos. Now, if anybody should produce high anxiety in everyone about what the actual quote strategy is behind the Teamsters to organize Amazon. And really, that's not much of a strategy at all. So I think that for people on the left, people who are labor activists, people who are affiliated with the ALU, people who are working at Amazon who may or may not be in the Teamsters or even very sympathetic to the Teamsters, I think that there needs to be regional and maybe even a national meeting of rank and file workers to discuss where all of this goes next, and with an eye towards it being an international struggle, because we can learn things from what happened in Canada, and we might be able to learn things that will be practical for us here in the United States from other countries. But I think it's important to have rank and file Amazon workers coming together, whether they want to be whether they want to be affiliated to the Teamsters or not, to talk about where they want to go as an independent rank and file movement. And I think there's how to discuss that and what role Teamsters Mobilize can play in creating that is something maybe we can't have that type of discussion completely today, but I think it should be on the agenda for a future meeting. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Comrade Allen. I see Carmen Nieves from JFK8, ALU IBT1 on here. If Comrade Nieves doesn't mind sharing some of her thoughts and a little report and reflection, if you don't mind, Carmen Nieves. I think she might be working, but I'm not sure. But Carmen Nieves, if you don't mind saying a couple words.
Sure. Thank you so much, Jose. Yeah, I can't turn my camera on right now. Sorry. But so my name is Michelle. So I'm a 6-year Amazon worker. And I've been with the ALU since before the election. So wow, almost 4 years now. I was part of the former administration, so I was the former vice president when it was AOU. So I've been with the organization through many different stages, from the very, very beginnings of just, a group of us, like 20 of us at the bus stop inside of the building organizing. And then, we grew larger, and then we just hit the mainstream and became very popular, right? Became like a very popular union. We were like the new kids on the block. So I've been, around for a while, and now it's a different administration. I'm still involved, so I'm a lead steward with the AOU IBT. I'm pretty much the only one that's still involved from the former administration. So as far as what's happening with the organization, there's still just a lot of healing and solidarity that needs to be spread out through the organization. There's still a lot of division and harsh feelings and things of that nature with certain people. As far as the strike myself, I just wanted to put some attention to the disabled workers that we have in Amazon. We have pretty much in all of the facilities. Of anyone else that's on the call that's actually worked at a facility knows that there's a ton of disabled workers. So what Amazon does is they basically get a tax write-off for hiring these folks. And then once they're on the floor, because they can't work as fast as everyone else, because obviously they're disabled, whether it's visually impaired, hearing impaired, some are in wheelchairs, some are missing limbs, and they have like prosthetic arms and things like that. So they try to pretty much fire them as soon as they can, because they're not able to produce as fast as everyone else. So during the strike, I was with a worker by the name of Manuel Martinez, who's visually impaired. So he's completely blind. And it's, I just wanted to add a little bit of humor to it because we were like on the picket line. And if anyone else was there, I was there like attached with him on my arm, and he had his walking stick and he was like poking everyone in front of him on the picket line, like trying to do the chant at the same time. And it was just, we tried as best as we could. So we stood on the picket line for like maybe about 15-20 minutes, and then we just had to like go off to the side. So there wasn't really a space for disabled workers. It's something that I noticed during the strike for whatever disability that they may have. So that's something that we might want to work on in the future, is to just, if you see disabled workers, just reach out to them, because sometimes they're often ignored. No one really like talks to them. They're like going to their accessoride, or they come and go, they clock in, they clock out, and no one really reaches out to them, and there really isn't a space for them. So we ended up actually by the van, which was this big humongous bus that they rented out. And this is where me and Manny was standing most of the time, because we had to stay out of everyone else's way because of everything that was happening. We were not prepared for the cold, as Luigi said. When we first came out of the building and we came out of the warehouse, we realized that it was cold, but the cold didn't really set in until about 2 or 3 hours being out in the cold, and we couldn't feel our legs. So we were just like, okay, it's brutal out here. This is crazy. So we weren't really prepared for it to be that cold. So we kept it up. We had a lot of support from the community. So we had a lot of like outside supporters come in to keep the strike line moving so that people could chant and things like that. Um, what I wanted to focus on also is the community effort really, really helped, because a lot of Amazon workers, we're like super exhausted. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever job that we're doing, whether it's packing, whether it's picking, it takes a lot of physical energy. And sometimes we're just like physically drained, and we're also mentally drained, because Amazon is just such a horrible, toxic environment. So having, this community help and energy was really like a big deal. And it was a great idea. I think that there's a supporter or outside employee, or I guess I call her a supporter by the name of Zara, that really helped out, and I want to give a shout out to her. So she was really the one that coordinated a lot of this like community help. And it was really just, for the fact that it was our first strike, it was really great. So we had a little bit over 200 workers come out, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot considering that we just came back 6 months ago from a very, very vicious campaign. We had a campaign election that we had that was just really vicious, and it kind of like tore the warehouse into a huge division, and it's just a lot of drama going on inside of the facility. So I wanted to be like really genuine and honest about what's happening with the rank and file inside of JFK 8. What I also wanted to talk about was the fact that the actual extreme weather helped us with the police presence, because there was a lot of police there, but because it was so cold, they didn't want to leave their police cars. So they were like sitting in there, eating their Dunkin' Donuts, drinking their coffee on their cell phones. So in that sense, the weather actually worked out for us. You know what I mean? We had to suffer through it, but we got to take the good with the bad. And thank you so much, Jose, for giving me time to speak.
No, gracias, Comrade Nieves, and thank you to all the speakers on today. I'll pass it on to my comrade Jennifer Hancock.